Hey guys, back to you again. I didn't get on to you last week and I could make some excuse about I was busy or I was tired or I was sick, and I felt all of those things, but in reality those things are excuses. So I will make an effort to make it up to you and I'll do another live on Thursday. One of the things I wasn't sure about in the last week is I've been obviously very happy with my own, unhappy with my own progress in the last while. There's been a lot of stresses eating away at me and I've not been doing things that I know I should do. And sometimes that's where we're at. You know, no one is this paradigm of perfection that does everything right in their life, eats only the right things all of the time. Okay? I've done the whole thing with the six pack and I have the photos on the wall because I do believe strongly we should be able to show an example for the people who want to go there. I have done that in the past. That's not where I am now, and I have no problem to admit that. There are things in my life that cause me anxiety, that cause me stress, and I find difficult to do. And like one of those things, believe it or not, is actually cooking. Okay? Now, that's not to say I cannot cook. I lived abroad for several years. I cooked everything I ate, obviously, because I lived alone. And I cooked very healthy food, and I took care of what I ate, and my weight was very good. And somewhere along the way in the last couple of years, I've gotten this severe anxiety when it actually comes to cooking. I find it immensely stressful to be in the kitchen. I find it immensely stressful to try to cook my meals. So I end up going to the point where I'm just picking very, very simple things to try and get through. And sometimes maybe that's what it is. You know, maybe there's a stress or an anxiety holding us back that's making things difficult for us. And it can be the simplest thing and something you're afraid to talk about. Like, I'm not happy to admit that I'm afraid to cook. I am in the fitness business. It's possibly the most ludicrous thing you can say. It's like, I know what I should eat, but there's a gear in my head stopping. I go into the kitchen and I start to freeze up and I start to get anxious and I start to breathe deeply and get very stressed. And that's not healthy. And obviously I need to break through that. And avoiding it is not working. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this on the Facebook Live. Of course I don't want to broadcast to everyone in the country that I'm afraid to cook. Obviously that sounds stupid, but everybody has something, okay? Sometimes there's a deep-seated anxiety from, it could be any part of your life. Now I do know there's a specific reason as to why this pattern started. There's a deeply personal aspect to that which involves other people, and I would not be comfortable sharing that because I want to talk about my problem. So sometimes you need to set down stakes. You need to make yourself accountable to someone else. You need to actually make a stand. And that's what I'm trying to do, is like, I'm going to say, I'm going to cook this weekend. As stupid as it is. And it's going to be simple. And there's nothing wrong with simple cooking, but I have a problem with that. So I'm going to book an hour and I'm going to do it. And it'll be done before Sunday, or Sunday at the latest. And I'll be checking in with you Tuesday and I can talk about how I did. And it doesn't need to be complex in order to get your food in order. It can be just picking that one meal, picking that one thing that you know you're doing wrong, that you're getting a bit of anxiety over, that you're getting a bit of stress over, and just stand back and look at it. You know, because often we have a lot of personal reasons as to why we're having problem with this specific part of our life. Like, overeating is not just overeating. It is usually a coping mechanism. It is something that causes us stress. We find comfort from the food we eat. It's the same with a lot of other addictions. We find comfort in something and then it starts to become a vicious cycle. But sometimes that thing that's making you feel good is a misguided way to escape the thing that's making you feel bad. I used to be very heavy, and whilst I would often say I was heavy just because I enjoyed food, there was obviously a part of it that I was unhappy with my body shape. I was unhappy being heavy, but I was happy when I was eating tasty food. But of course, that cycle didn't help me. I would be happy while I ate the tasty food, and then about 2 minutes later I would have this crippling, overwhelming guilt and shame. And then what would I do? Eat to try satiate that. That's not going to work. You need to decide, where's the line? What's the thing I'm going to do? And it's just as simple as picking one thing that you're going to start on and move forward with. It can be a simple thing. It can be the simplest little thing, like saying, I'm going to have this one breakfast right. Or I'm going to have one lunch in the week where I don't eat in the canteen. That could be an example of that. It doesn't need to be a big step, but make it a step that you can keep going forward, that you can keep doing week after week, month after month, so you can actually make it part of you, part of your routine, part of your identity almost. Because trying to change everything for 2 or 3 weeks and lose the weight, or even 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever it is, you can do the full organic diet and you can lose the weight and you will feel good for those few weeks. But if you didn't graduate into that, it's going to become quite overwhelming and you're going to fall off that wagon. And that is a yo-yo diet. It's a really, really healthy one, don't get me wrong, but that's what it is. And then you're going to have more guilt for why couldn't I stick with it? And that isn't going to help you. You need to realise that we just need to make steps in the right direction and graduate in that way. If you're having a problem finding what your issue is, you need to talk to someone. It can be anyone. It can be maybe not your mother. Asking parents for advice for most people has not fared well, I found, for most of them. But ask a friend, ask someone. And the most important thing is you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to be able to have a look at your thing. If every time you write down something for 3 days and you do it Monday to Wednesday and it looks great, but you're still overweight, there's something wrong somewhere else. There's something you're not telling people, or there's something you're not seeing yourself. Or maybe it's these exception weekends, which I often joke about, are never exceptions. But you do need to try find where it's going wrong for you. And often it's that situation of stress. It's that situation that you're avoiding, that you're finding difficult, that you're trying to cope with. It can be that. And just think about it. Is there a certain situation in my life that when I feel stressed, I would eat in a certain way afterwards? Is there a certain thing that happens? Is there a certain incident that's happening at work? Is it a long day at work? Is it a stressful day? Is it difficult quarters? Do you find that after these hard days, you're coming home and to escape it, you're eating something that's just not helping you? If it's not helping you and you're not happy with your weight, you have to decide, where's the line? Okay? So that's what I'm going to aim to do in the next week. I'm going to cook some food. As stupid as that sounds. That is a very difficult thing for me to do, but sometimes if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. You have to take control of something sometimes. So have a real think about, what do you feel is causing you anxiety? What is holding you back? What are you finding difficult? And take a step. Take care, guys.